All right, we're going to start tonight with Bob Kincaid of Head On Radio Network. Bob is going to be on MSNBC tomorrow night talking about coal in West Virginia. For about the past half hour, I watched the second part of Chris Hayes' program, and that's who Bob is going to be with tomorrow, Chris Hayes, I believe. We'll talk to him in a minute. But Chris Hayes tonight was focused on Harlan County, Kentucky, and most folks, I guess, are familiar with the movie Harlan County, USA, I believe it was called, about the coal miners' strike in Harlan County. One of them, there have been several. How federal troops were used to back the coal mine operators, and workers were killed, and so on and so forth. But that was tonight. Tomorrow night, it'll be Bob Kincaid, and he joins us now from an undisclosed location in someplace. Hey, Bob. Bring him up there, Kathy. Hey, Bob. Okay.
Hey, Mike.
Hi. Can you pot him down a little bit now? Are you there, Bob?
I'm here.
Okay, good. Now, tomorrow you're going to be on Chris Hayes, right?
Tomorrow is the segment that we shot in August around a lot of mountaintop removal sites, and that's tomorrow's segment. And then Friday, I'm flying up to New York to be on the set with him.
And do you know, is he doing stories about coal all this week? Because, like I said, I watched the second half of his program tonight, and he talked to a bunch of people who live in Harlan County, Kentucky, and focused in on the two candidates for Senate, both of whom were trying to out-coal each other. But then, interestingly, he talked to the current head of the United Mine Workers, who seemed a bit taken aback by the fact that mine workers, coal mine workers, are the ones supposed to take the kick in the rear end right now, where it concerns the EPA.
Well, it is going to air. A segment will air every night this week, and then I guess we're going to wrap it up on Friday. I didn't, because I was wrapping up my show.
Right.
I didn't see the segment, but I've already gotten a bunch of Facebook comments talking about Cecil Roberts and the fact that he doesn't live in reality world.
No, that's the head
and hopefully we'll get.
That's the head of the United Mine Workers, right?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And it's not. But Mike, it's not just. And this is stuff we've talked about in the past. But it's not just the coal workers who are taking it on the chin or in the lungs, as the case may be, anymore. It's people who just happen to live near mountaintop removal in Appalachia, and it's unconscionable. It's become unconscionable. We still lose among the miners themselves, Mike. We have 1,000 deaths per year. That's about 3 a day from black lung.
Wow.
And black lung is absolutely preventable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the rates are actually on the rise. And it's on the rise not just in underground coal mines, it's on the rise on mountaintop removal sites.
Right.
And yet to talk about it, for instance, I'm sure you've got your fair share of dirty, filthy, sleazy political campaigns going on in Georgia. Well, we got a couple of humdingers going on up here.
Right.
And it is absolutely impossible to talk about these health-related issues. Whether it be the miners or innocent victims who just live near this stuff, we've got this constant cacophony of, I love coal.
Mm-hmm.
And the other candidate will say, no, you don't love coal. I love coal because you love that Obama.
Oh, my God.
And it's 24/7. You can't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, there is a real, live, honest-to-God, full-blown crisis in Appalachia. Birth defects, lung disease, heart disease, all kinds of bizarre cancers. And there's more than 20 studies now that show that point to mountaintop removal as the reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the question becomes, what's the magic number? Do we need 26 studies? Do we need 112? The fact of the matter is, we don't need any more studies. We need to end it.
Well, without sounding the least bit negative, you and I both know what it's going to take to end it. In the first place, the coal industry or the natural gas industry or whatever these extractive industries are, the people who own those industries are in no way, shape, or form going to stop extracting, because what they would be asked to do would be to leave literally trillions of dollars in the ground. And as long as we have a system that puts a value on coal, natural gas, and oil, that's not going to happen. It's just not. Is it?
They're not going to. They walk away when the coal is gone, generally, and the same applies to any extractive industry, whether it be oil or natural gas, and even minerals, copper, iron, gold, whatever. But I think the direction that it points, Mike, is that they will not willingly stop. Right. They have to be stopped.
Right.
Because they want it all.
Well, there's another thing I think you and I can agree on. There will not be, and you see this daily in West Virginia, I see it in states bordering Georgia, there will not be an honest debate about the real cost of extracting and burning coal. There just will not be that debate. There will not be a debate of the economic pluses and minuses of coal extraction versus medical care, medical costs. So lacking that honest discussion, how are people supposed to use the power of the ballot or use the power of lobbying or demonstrations to get this to stop?
Well, the power of the ballot is meaningless in a place like West Virginia.
Right. Well, yes,
we have good third-party candidates, and of course that's just the kiss of death, right?
Right.
But like I said, you can't get a meaningful debate between the mainstream candidates. You can't even get them to acknowledge, because I've written editorials for the Charleston Gazette calling on a candidate to simply acknowledge not that the studies are right or wrong, but that they even exist. They won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So if something's going to happen politically, it's going to have to be driven by people, because the extractive industries are far too wealthy and they buy politicians far too easily.
Right.
The second part of that is that, as has been the case through American history since colonization, because there's only a couple of 10,000, 15,000 years of American history before we got here.
Right.
But it's been the case that social wrongs tended to be righted not by people so much inside their own regions where they were experiencing them, but by people outside those regions. Two examples. One, the abolition movement arises in New England, not in Alabama.
Right.
And is forced upon that region. Another good example, a Nebraska senator looked at the Tennessee River Valley and saw the potential of the river there, and that's how TVA was born.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The civil rights movement was, and you know this far better than I, the civil rights movement was born of people from the North coming south to insist on full American civil constitutional rights for people to whom they were being denied. Mm-hmm. Well, the same thing's going to have to happen with Appalachia.
All right,
we talk.
Bob, let me put you on hold for a second, because I want you to expand on that a bit about how it's going to take outsiders to bring this about. That's my term, outsiders. I know you didn't use that term, but people from outside the areas where in this instance where this coal industry is occurring, and how they're not going to be welcome, just like the Freedom Riders weren't welcome down here. So if you'll hold on a second, we'll come back right after this break. Stay with us. I'm Mike Malloy. 21 past. Bob Kincaid is on the line with us here. He will be on Chris Hayes' program tomorrow as part of an investigative piece on mountaintop removal that was shot a couple of months ago. And then this Friday, I believe, Bob will be in New York on set on MSNBC with Chris Hayes. Now, if I got that right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Now, you made that statement about, and these are my words, outsiders or pressure from without being exerted in order to get folks to come to the realization that in this particular case, what we're talking about, that coal is killing them, their families, and the environment. How do you do that?
there obviously has to be a lot of education. That's why I think, for instance, this conversation, the conversations we've had, are so important, because Appalachia, and of course it's not the only place where coal's produced. Right. Appalachia is the most forgettable, forgotten, ignorable region in the United States. If people do think about us, they tend to think funny things about us, or the Beverly Hillbillies, Deliverance, or something like that.
Right.
But it's a real place with real people that has been really sacrificed for over 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you get people involved is to inform them, educate them, and get them active. There was a big mountaintop removal contingent there at the People's Climate March in New York that you attended.
Right.
And there's a reason for that, because if you actually sit down and think about the reality of climate change, Appalachia, Mike, is the cradle of climate change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's where it started.
Yeah.
And so people who are concerned about climate change have to be concerned about Appalachia. We have to teach them to be that. And we need, for instance, the bill we have in Congress, this miserable Congress, H.R. 526, the ACE Act, that's largely been co-sponsored by people from New York and Massachusetts and Oregon and Washington and California. Right. That's some of what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot. The thing is, for instance, they want to keep talking about coal in Appalachia, but the fact of the matter is, it's going to be gone in 20 or 30 years. And when the coal companies leave, they're going to leave for good, and they're not going to leave anything behind them. So if we don't address these matters now, Mark, then what this place is going to look like 30 years from now, after they've had their way with us, is going to be a little pocket of hell, instead of the kind of beautiful places that it can be, the parts they haven't blown up yet.
Right. Well, another thing, one of the people who lived in Harlan County, Kentucky, who is on Chris Hayes' program tonight, a writer for the newspaper, I forget the city there, but he said that with mountaintop removal techniques now, you can take down an entire mountain with 10 or 12 people.
It's the absolute truth.
Yeah.
About 1980, in West Virginia alone, there was something on the order of 100,000 coal mines. Now there are less than 15,000, maybe less than 10. Mm-hmm. Of the ones who are mountaintop removal workers, there are less than 4,000. And you really can. A crew of 12, 15 people can take down 5,000 acres in 5 years.
All right. I just wonder if in your and my lifetimes, if we'll ever have anything really fun to talk about.
Oh, Lord, I look forward to it. I one of these days I want to talk about, solar energy. I get really excited. I think solar energy and wind turbines, I think those are fun to talk about and cool and stuff.
Yeah, solar energy. I mean, we have this monstrous thermonuclear reactor 93 million miles away that dumps enough energy on this planet every day to run everything for, however many thousands of years. It's just a damn shame that there's no way to put a meter on that. If there's a way to meter it, hell, we would have had solar power years ago, Bob.
Well, that's they haven't figured out a way to make a buck on it, but they are figuring that out.
Yeah.
To talk about the rest of the world using coal, China's putting up wind turbines and solar panels for all they're worth.
Right.
Germany's passed 50%, maybe 75% of their electricity generation from wind and solar.
Right.
It can be done. And there's Germany on the same latitude, approximately, as Alaska.
Yeah.
It can happen, and it'll be a happy day. And you know what? It's encouraging to see the number of people who are taking the climate change crisis seriously. It's empowering.
It is. What time tomorrow will you be on Chris Hayes' program?
Tomorrow, I don't. If it runs the way it ran tonight, the way I was told, I guess the feature runs in the second half of the program,
about 8:30 Eastern.
And
time.
so this is all the stuff that we shot when they were here in August. And I got to tell you, Mike, one of these days, I hope, and I don't know how we do it, but one of these days, I want you to go where we were. I want you to walk through the woods and just see this all laying out in front of you. I promise you'll need the Malloy cuss card.
All
Because the
right.
first time you do it, all you do is start swearing.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. Bob, thanks a lot. We'll look for the segment tomorrow and look for you on Friday.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mike. And one last thing, thanks to all the truth seekers who have helped keep the horn going. It's been crucial and critical and wonderful, and we're deeply grateful.
All right. Take care, Bob. We'll talk later.